You felt it, that sudden squeeze in your chest when you know something inside you is screaming to be heard. You've tried every mantra and pep talk, yet the panic only grows louder. Stay with me, because by the end of this story, you'll discover how your deepest fear can become the doorway to your greatest strength. I know you've felt it, that hollow ache settling in your chest before your heart even starts to pound. You're standing on the edge of something you can't name, frozen by a whisper of danger that no one else seems to hear. Your limbs grow heavy, your breath shallow, and the world narrows to a single thought. Don't move, don't speak, just don't fall apart. I know what it is to freeze in fear, to feel every heartbeat echoing a warning you can't escape. Yet beneath that paralyzing panic lies a hidden doorway. Your pain is not your prison. It's the hinge that can swing wide into true freedom. Stay with me, and you'll soon see how. If we're honest, being told to just think positively lights a new spark of anxiety. What if I can't? We become these overworked automatons, programmed to plaster on a smile as though it'll trick our fear into submission. But every attempt to force "everything's fine" only stirs the storm inside. It's like someone standing on a cliff telling you, "Don't look down and you won't fall." So you start emptying your pockets of stones, terrified of moving forward while the wind grows stronger. These lightweight affirmations don't soothe. They birth a fresh panic, not of real danger, but of failing to appear happy. Most psychologists won't tell you that positive thinking is a trap. It's a cruel game where every slip is seen not as a signal to explore your own pain, but as proof of personal failure. You lose trust in yourself. If I freak out again, I'm broken. I'm not like everyone else. At that moment, your inner critic gains extra power, pressing you to never falter. Fear of perpetual inadequacy pushes you into self-flagellation. You can't allow weakness, and now you must manage it flawlessly on the fly. Here's what many self-help authors and coaches hide. Banning your pain only multiplies it. You start hiding your anxiety like a shameful wound, instead of approaching it, listening to what it's trying to teach you. When others refuse to acknowledge your suffering, your loneliness swells exponentially. You feel not good enough because you don't fit someone else's portrait of true happiness. Positive equals strong, so you haul around this sack of perfect thoughts until it rips you apart from within. Advice to just overcome your fear is as absurd as ordering someone with a broken leg to sprint to the finish. Picture yourself trapped in your own terror, heart hammering in your chest, while someone barks, "Now be decisive," as if your nervous system were a malfunctioning engine that only needs the right command. Your adrenaline-soaked mind hunts for someone or something to blame and finds it in you. You chastise yourself for every tremor in your voice, every frozen thought, considering each a personal defeat. This sounds harsh, but we have no right to self-pity when successful examples of quick fixes glare at us from every screen. You crash even harder, squeezing out a victory over fear, only to find yourself back in the same labyrinth, exhausted and utterly empty. Your psyche becomes a glove you put on and peel off again and again, yet inside remains the same cage of relentless expectations. Be stronger, faster, better. But the bitterest truth is this: you did everything right. You devoured books, attended seminars, tried to meditate correctly, and held your breath before your demons. You truly believed that if you chanted the mantra often enough, your fears would collapse like a house of cards. You immersed yourself in self-help articles, convinced they were a healing sea, whispering, "Be yourself, let go, love yourself." And yet, where is the change? The weariness only grew, and doubt swelled like dark matter within you. All of this makes me furious at a system that promises simplicity where only brutal honesty can heal. You did everything right, but the system deceived you. You journeyed from fear to your best self and found only another level of the maze. The promise of an easy path is a trap built on fragile pledges of instant recovery. Teachers told you that mastering your emotions was the ultimate achievement. In truth, they thrived on your faith, selling courses and programs where fear became a commodity. And you paid with your most precious assets, your inner world and your trust in yourself. Now you stand amid the ruins of broken promises, clutching fragments of empowering slogans, and realize power doesn't come from the word "you can," but from confronting the reality of what's happening to you. Your task is not to swap fear for another illusion, but to learn its language. Not to banish it, but to open the door, strip away the labels attached to it, and discover that behind fear lives your truest life. But there is something even more terrifying. If these words resonate with you, subscribe to the channel. By doing so, you'll help this truth reach others who are still trapped by their fears and ready to find the courage to face themselves. Let's go deeper into the hidden machinery of fear that runs beneath our every step, unseen yet unyielding. Imagine a part of yourself so unwelcome that you've locked it away in the cellar of your mind. That is Jung's shadow, all the thoughts, impulses, and wounds you refuse to acknowledge. It grows in darkness, fed by shame and denial, until one day it barges into your life as panic, rage, or self-sabotage. You walk through the world believing you are whole, yet a fragment of your own psyche works against you. You may deny envy, aggression, or vulnerability, but those qualities still pulse beneath the surface, guiding your choices in whispers you cannot hear. The shadow is the map to buried truth. It shows what you most fear in yourself. Only by shining light into that cellar, by giving voice to the parts you have exiled, can you reclaim the energy they hoard and stop playing the victim to impulses you thought were random. Beneath the shadow lies a tangle of complexes, self-contained clusters of memories and emotions that form around trauma, rejection, or impossible expectations. A childhood moment when you felt unseen may harden into a not good enough complex that colors every new relationship. A single dismissal can become the mother of all fears, dictating behavior decades later. These complexes lie dormant until triggered by a word, a gesture, or even a smell, and then erupt with the force of 1,000 past wounds. You react not to the present moment, but to the ghost of some ancient hurt, as though life were a replay of unfinished business. The unconscious becomes the stage and the complexes, the actors, leading you down old patterns you thought you had outgrown. Understanding this is the key. Your fear is not proof of personal failure, but the echo of unhealed chapters demanding closure. And yet, here is the paradox. The only way through is to welcome what you most dread. You cannot banish fear by pushing it away. You must sit with it, listen to its story, and even embrace its wisdom. Fear is not your enemy, but a messenger. It signals where your boundaries lie, where your growth awaits. When you stop resisting, the trembling chest and racing heart become portal and guide. Instead of stiffening against the tremor, lean into it, naming the precise sensation, the tightening at your solar plexus, the hue of anxiety, the narrative that springs to your mind. Speak to it as you would to a friend in pain. I see you there. Thank you for protecting me. In that moment, fear shifts from tyrant to teacher. You gain the power to choose whether to heed its warning or to move forward despite it. Think of your psyche as a vast theater. In the dark stalls sit your complexes, half-forgotten memories and disowned tendencies, each awaiting its cue. When an event echoes their theme, the stage lights up and the show begins. Sometimes a tragedy, sometimes a farce. You, the conscious observer, believe you are merely the audience, helpless before the drama. But the paradox invites you onto the stage. You step into the footlights and recognize the players as parts of yourself. You can rewrite the script. Instead of a rerun of old stories, you become the playwright, integrating the exiled roles into a new narrative of wholeness. Integration is not tidy. It involves shame and tears, moments when you feel like crawling back into the cellar you just unlocked. And that is precisely why most avoid it. The true work of healing is brutal in its honesty. Yet without this confrontation, the shadow and its complexes will continually hijack your intentions, leaving you wondering why you cannot break free. Courage does not mean absence of fear. It means standing amid trembling limbs and moving forward anyway, hand in hand with the very voice that once held you captive. As you practice this radical acceptance, a subtle shift occurs. The dark corners of your mind become less menacing. You realize that the parts of you once called failures are simply unfinished chapters waiting for acknowledgement. Your fears become invitations to self-inquiry rather than traps of paralysis. You may still experience dread, but now you carry a lantern, your own awareness, guiding you through the labyrinth of old hurt. Each step into fear is an offering of compassion to yourself, and in return, you receive clarity, resilience, and an ever-expanding sense of freedom. And here is the most painful truth. The path through fear is endless, for life will forever confront you with new shadows and complexes. There is no final cure, no once-and-for-all victory. Initiation into your own psyche is like peeling an infinite onion. Each layer reveals another beneath. Some days you may feel triumphant, having befriended a long-ignored part. Other days, you may stumble upon new wounds you thought healed. This perpetual unfolding is not a flaw, but a testament to life's depth. To live fully is to remain a student of your own heart, humble before the vastness within. And yet, in this ongoing journey, you discover a source of strength deeper than any promise of sudden transformation. You learn to trust your capacity to face whatever arises, knowing that every crisis holds a seed of growth. Fear ceases to be a prison and becomes a guidepost, marking where the next threshold to your true self awaits. In that space beyond terror, you find the most authentic version of yourself, no longer a shadow-driven automaton, but a conscious being capable of embracing both light and darkness. This is the work few dare to attempt, yet it is the source of genuine power. It is not about eradicating fear, but about befriending it, understanding its language, and walking alongside it with curiosity and compassion. In doing so, you transform the very mechanism that once held you hostage into the forge of your liberation. Here are concrete practices to turn your understanding into action, and a final invitation to claim your power. When you feel the familiar knot of dread tighten in your chest, pause and place one hand over your heart, the other on your belly. Breathe slowly, counting to 4 as you inhale, 4 as you hold, and 6 as you exhale. Let the rhythm settle your nervous system. This simple somatic anchor trains your body to recognize safety even when the mind screams danger. Over time, you create a new groove. Instead of autopiloting into panic, you learn to reset with each breath. Next, meet your shadow through a daily shadow journal. Each evening, find 15 minutes of unbroken quiet. Write down every feeling or impulse you judged today: envy when a friend succeeded, anger at a trivial slight, shame in a moment of self-pity. Don't censor or analyze, simply record. Over days, patterns reveal themselves, a core wound echoing in minor slights, an old story replaying in your inner critic's voice. Naming these themes weakens their power. You shine light into the cellar of your psyche. Once you've identified a shadow pattern, speak to it directly. In front of a mirror, look into your own eyes and say, "I see you, fear of abandonment. I know you've kept me from loving fully. but I am ready to understand you. This ritual may feel awkward at first, but by personifying and verbalizing the part you've exiled, you claim authority over it. You shift from being ruled by unseen forces to becoming the conscious director of your internal world. To transform fear's energy into movement, use edge work. Choose a small, manageable activity that feels slightly outside your comfort zone, but won't overwhelm you. Speaking up in a meeting, starting a difficult conversation, taking a new route home. Before you act, tune into your body's signals, the flutter in your throat, the tightness in your chest. Acknowledge them as the fuel you need. Then, move forward deliberately, letting the adrenaline guide your focus rather than your panic. Afterward, journal what happened and how you felt. Celebrate the fact that you felt fear and did it anyway. Each small victory compounds, rewiring your brain to associate fear with growth rather than collapse. Body-based release also dissolves stored tension. Try trembling exercises drawn from trauma therapy. Stand with knees slightly bent, feet hip-width apart. Shake your entire body, arms, legs, torso, like a dog shaking off water. Let the tremors flow naturally. Don't control them. After a minute or two, stop and rest, noticing any shifts in sensation. This primal movement discharges excess energy locked in the fight or flight response, calming your system and restoring agency over your body. Another tool is the compassion pause. When fear arises, place a gentle hand on your face, just above the eyebrow, and say inwardly, "May I be kind to myself in this moment of fear." Science shows that this self-soothing touch activates the same neural pathways as social support, modulating the stress response. Over time, you learn to cultivate self-empathy automatically, softening the harsh voice of self-judgment. To deepen integration, create a courage alliance with a trusted friend or partner. Once a week, share one moment when fear held you back, and one time you leaned into it. Your ally listens without advice, reflecting back what they heard and honoring your courage. This ritual builds accountability and reminds you that transformation happens in relationship, not isolation. Finally, channel the raw energy of fear into creative expression. When you notice your heart racing, pause and pick up a pen, a paintbrush, or a piece of clay. Let your hands move freely, translating the intensity into shapes, words, or textures on the page. You don't need talent. This is not art for an audience, but a way to externalize what's inside. The act of creation transforms fear into something you can hold, examine, and ultimately transmute. As you weave these practices into your life, you'll notice fear's role shifting. It no longer hijacks your behavior. Instead, it becomes a compass pointing toward growth. Each breath, each journal entry, each trembling shake, each compassionate pause, each shared confession, each burst of creativity chips away at the old narrative of helplessness. If you're ready to meet your shadow, write "My darkness is my power" in the comments. Let's build a community of brave souls who refuse to let fear hold them still, and who dare to step forward into their fullest lives. Notice how every few minutes the tone pivots like a gust of wind, from the claustrophobic hush of raw confession to a sharp, almost electric jolt of clarity. One moment you're leaning in, heart hammering alongside mine. The next, a whisper of relief washes over you as a hidden mechanism is revealed. These deliberate swings, pressure followed by pause, keep you off balance in the best way, refusing to let your mind settle into complacency. Every paragraph ends on a half-whisper, an unfinished chord that lingers. Yet beneath that trembling chest lies a promise. And what I'm about to share next might feel even more unsettling. You feel the pulse of anticipation, the unease of not knowing, and you lean forward because your brain craves resolution. Those quiet cliffhangers are the hooks that don't let you drift away. 3 or 4 minutes in, after we've dissected the anatomy of panic, I'll drop a line like, "But if you think that was the worst of it, just wait." In that moment, you sense an unspoken abyss, and you're compelled to stay until I reveal what lurks below. Each loop is a promise. There's more to see, more to feel, more to integrate. Contrast builds tension. After a passage of heart-rending vulnerability, I'll cut to a brisk, almost clinical explanation of a psychological model. The stark shift feels jarring, like switching from a stormy sea to a silent cathedral, and your attention snaps back, curious about how these two extremes connect. Then, near the end, you'll hear me whisper, "By the final minute, you'll realize that fear is not your enemy, but your greatest teacher." That line hangs in the air, compelling you to endure the discomfort until the very last breath of the narrative. It's this interplay of unresolved tension, tonal thunderclaps, and tantalizing promises of truth that holds you fast, ensuring that the journey doesn't let you go until you've met your own courage face to face.